This week on Healing from Within, Evidential Medium, Marilyn Colasuonno. I met with Marilyn out and about at one of my favorite coffee shops and had a very interesting conversation with her. She will tell us all about her gifts on communicating with loved ones on the other side. Her method of providing details that only you and your loved ones would know shows proof that she has truly connected. She will talk about her life as a child and experiences as an evidential medium here on Healing from Within with your host, Tony Valen. Welcome to Healing from Within. I'm your host, Tony Valen. You can contact me at tony@tonyvalen.com or visit our website at healingfromwithin.net. You can follow us on Twitter at TVHFW. Joining us on today's show is Marilyn Colasuonno. Marilyn is an evidential medium. You can learn more about Marilyn at www.twoheartsjourney.com. Marilyn, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you for having me on the show. I'm so excited about this.
I am too. So let's get started. Tell us a little about yourself and your gifts.
Well, as Tony said, I'm an evidential medium, and what that is that I work directly with those that have passed over into the spirit world, and I try to bring evidence through. Not just me, but those that have passed over will try to bring evidence that they still exist. And also I have a spirit team that works very hard with this. So this is a group effort.
Awesome. And when you talk about the spirit group, how many spirits do you work with, or is there a number, or you don't know?
Well, there is one in particular which I call a gatekeeper. Now that is a spirit that works specifically to start the process going. I have others that may step in, so I do say it's a team. How many at one time, I'm not sure, but not only do I have a group of people that help bring the energy up so that we can collaborate in this effort, but I may have somebody that is with the person that's stepping in to communicate from the other side, helping them bring their energy together with mine so that we can communicate.
Got it. So this gatekeeper, basically, I remember talking to you before this. You told me they kind of work like a battery. They help supplement the energy because they're vibrating at a higher vibration and us at a lower, or explain.
Yes, we're in the physical world, so we do vibrate a particular vibration here on Earth while we're in our physical body. But once we pass over, that vibration changes. We don't have the physical body with us, so the vibration, I would say, raises or shifts. So they are vibrating higher, like a radio wave. You can't see a radio wave, but it's there. What happens is that I raise my vibration up, and they lower their vibration, that person that's passed over, and my gatekeeper will help in that energy work. So we kind of collaborate at a certain frequency.
To communicate. Now, how can you tell the difference between your inner voices and the voices coming through, or is it voices or images, or how?
Well, there is. If anybody's heard of this work before, there are 5 clairs. We call them the 5 sisters: is clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, clairgustius, and I know I'm missing one, but what I want to say is that we use these particular senses to communicate. I may, in one sitting, use all 5 senses, or just be very strongly with one sense, say clairvoyance. Now, clairvoyance is clear hearing, and I will visualize in. If I had my eyes closed, I would see like a picture. It would be very quick. Or a clairaudience, where I hear it, it's as a thought or a sentence or a word that's just downloaded into my head. It's not something I'm thinking of. It's just something that's just very quickly there. As soon as it comes through, then I verbalize it to the person that's sitting in front of me. It will mean nothing to me, and I don't try to think about what it is or make a take on it. I just say what's coming through. That's why it's coming more clearly for the person.
Got it. Now, you did mention a because the one I think that you didn't mention was clairsentience.
Right.
And what does that mean?
That's clear feeling, and we all actually have that to some degree or other. We sense when we're in a room and we don't care for a person or somebody that we're very drawn to. So it's a feeling we get about our environment, and again, that's, if you were to break it down, that would be on the energy level that we're feeling that.
Yeah, and you also said one clair that I was not familiar with. It starts with a G. What was that again?
Clairgustient.
Yeah, what is that? I've never heard of that.
That's clear smelling. So if you were ever in a space that you were smelling smoke that wasn't there, or a cigarette smoke, or cigar smoke, or perfume, that I have smelled, and it's actually a spirit that's trying to communicate. For instance, I had a woman walk past me, and I had a very strong smell of roses when she went past. Now, she wasn't wearing any perfume, but again, that had a very poignant significance for me, and it's somebody was trying to communicate.
And it meant something to the person you were reading for.
Right.
Yeah. I remember also talking to you in the past about the different types of mediums, which that was something that I was not aware of. Now, can you explain to the listeners, and I guess the first thing, we can't assume that they know what a medium is. So what is a medium, and then can you give us the different types of mediums?
Sure. A medium is somebody that works directly with those that have passed over. And we work with the energy of those that passed over. Now you probably have heard people that say they're psychic mediums or psychics, and I want to clarify that for people because may not know that. A psychic is somebody who works with the sitter that's sitting in front of you with their energy, and so they're picking up information about that person that's in the physical world. A medium will work with those that have passed over with the energy of the person that has passed over, or other spirits that have passed over. Now, a medium can be a psychic, and for instance, I've done readings where I've actually have picked up things about a person, about something, say that's going on in their everyday life. Sometimes I'm not sure whether that is actually psychic or actually some of my times my spirit team is giving me the information. And again, for me, this is all evidence, and that's why I call myself an evidential medium, because I'm trying to bring through evidence that life exists after death.
Interesting. So, as a medium, you can be psychic and you can have information about someone. Are you talking about like future events or illnesses or?
Well, I try to stay away from that because everybody has free will, and events can change. Nothing's ever static, and ethically, I don't feel I should be giving that kind of information out. Now, if it was something very important about a person that they need to know, then it'll come through. But typically, when I do a reading, I don't predict any things like death or illness and things like that.
Got it. Also, and then the different types of mediums that you know of?
Well, all of the mediums work with the clairs that I had talked about before. So it depends on what strengths they have in each of those. Some mediums are very good at visualizing and their clairvoyance. And they will say, oh, I see this and I see that. Well, they're actually getting either a movie or a picture of something in their head, and that's the way spirit's working through them. And then there's others that work more with the clairaudience, where they hear a lot more. But I believe that they all kind of use all of it, but to some degree or less.
Got it. And more specifically, what I was trying to ask for is, I've heard of trans mediums.
Oh, a trans medium. A trans medium is actually a medium that will step aside. They're not leaving their body per se, but they are stepping out a little bit out of their physical body, so that a spirit that they've been working with can step in and communicate. So that he'll overshadow or she'll overshadow that person's physical body and use the voice box of the human to give dissertations or to give messages.
Got it. So they basically, so if they don't step out of their bodies, where do they go? How are they like in a sleep state?
Yes and no. They are in a semi-sleep state. They can sometimes hear what's going on, but they disconnect from anything that's being said. It's like chatter that you hear in a restaurant that's behind you. Or
like this, because we're actually in public doing this.
Right. So they kind of tune in, but they don't tune in that much. And then when the spirit is finished communicating, they just slip back into the body.
Very interesting. Also, what is the difference between an inspirational or inspired speaking? Oh, well, I guess that's the same thing we just spoke about, right? Transmedium?
Right. They'll inspired speaking is they'll use your own knowledge, and that's why it's good to have lots of knowledge about things. They'll use your knowledge to give information, and say there's automatic writing. That would be inspired writing.
Right.
And that's the medium's own thoughts, and the spirit will help expound on that.
Very interesting. Physical medium, and what do they do? And
a physical medium is somebody that has more, I call it energy, or ectoplasm. Ectoplasm is a form of energy that spirit can use to move physical objects in a room. It's very rare. It's actually takes a long time to develop, and you will not probably see too many mediums nowadays that actually use this.
Interesting. So, have you seen a physical medium do this?
Yes, I have. I've seen actually a couple, and it's always under a controlled circumstance because it is very dangerous to do. And the reason it's very dangerous is because they're pulling energy from the person's body, and they're manipulating that in physical matter, and you have to be careful that nobody goes up and inadvertently touches this energy, because it can snap back to the medium and cause physical damage to the internal organs.
Interesting. So this physical energy that they're pulling out is what you're calling ectoplasma?
Yeah, ectoplasm. Yes.
Ectoplasma. Got it. That's really interesting, and I'm sure people didn't know about that. So whenever someone does see a physical medium, the point is they're not supposed to touch the spirit or what the energy is being used to form.
Absolutely not. There actually have been cases where mediums have died from this.
Wow. And how do they keep people from not touching this spirit? I mean, how do they reassure that's not going to happen?
Well, usually that they'll most mediums that have this ability will not sit with anybody unless they understand that they can't do this. People get so excited about seeing a spirit physically form into a body that you can touch, that they'll get over emotional, and the first thing they want to do is go up and give a hug to the person. What spirits do is they're just trying to let you know that you survive physical death, and this is a demonstration. So the groups that I've sat in, they were all very controlled, and we had to go through actually a process before we could actually sit in a room with the physical medium.
Got it. So you really kind of go through some type of, for lack of a better word, interview process and make sure that you're in the right state of mind.
So they understand that what you're going to see or witness, how it happens.
Got it. What is it? What's it called? Or because I know that I've heard of another type of medium where objects will be floating in the air. They'll appear from nowhere, or they'll drop from anywhere. Is that another type of medium?
No, that's actually a physical medium.
That is a physical.
And again, they're able to use that the energy, the ectoplasm, to make objects disappear in one place and relocate into another place. A bilocation, I guess you could say.
Got it.
And also they can take objects out of a room and then to put them somewhere else.
Interesting.
So it's an amazing thing to watch. And you have to understand where how this all works, I think, before you really want to sit and watch this.
Yeah. You also showed me some photographs that Spirit has actually created. Can you tell the audience that story of how
Okay,
it happens?
again, this is called another form of physical mediumship, and what the medium does is they will get paper, just plain white index paper, and they can do this in the light, and so that you can see, and they'll take the papers and they'll take pens and pencils and put them in a box or a basket that's covered, and it's considered a cabinet when they do that, so actually all of that is in the dark, and the spirit team will actually work with the medium and his ectoplasm, and actually the people that are in the room sitting for this. They'll pull all that energy, and spirit will able to use that pencils and pens and such to draw pictures and write names of those that passed over. It's quite amazing.
Right. It sounds amazing. Again, this is Tony Valen from Healing From Within. You can follow our show at healingfromwithin.net or directly contact me, Tony at tonyvalen.com. And we are talking to Marilyn Colasuonno. You can learn more about Marilyn at www.twoheartsjourney.com. Marilyn, on your website, you talk about your childhood and, what you went through. Can you tell the listeners a little about that?
I can. Well, I was a very sensitive child, and I would suppose you can call me an empath. I picked up other people's feelings very strongly, and it was very uncomfortable for me. I guess I was a little bit of a loner, and I prefer actually being out in nature and a one-on-one with a person, but large groups of people actually made me very uncomfortable. I also had paranormal experience as a child. I saw things that weren't there that I thought, and my childhood was very unusual.
And when someone contacts you for a reading, what can they expect? How is the process?
For me, I actually work with my eyes closed, and the reason for that is because to develop my abilities, my gifts, I worked in a cabinet. I actually worked in a dark room, and with spirit, it took many years, and many years of study. So I like to work with my eyes closed. I'm a very visual person. If I work with my eyes closed, I'm actually raising my vibration. I'm going into a light trance, and I'm actually stepping into a space with those that have passed over. So I'm more there than I am here physically. It's easier for me, and the information is able to come through me easier and quicker. Like I said, I get very distracted when I'm looking at somebody. I don't like to pick up any kind of clues, and I don't want to know anything about the person that I'm going to sit for. The less I know, it's much better for me. That way, I can give evidence of the person that's passed over. I'm not. They say don't feed the medium.
Right.
I'm not fishing.
Well, I think that's a great thing, because some people have been accused of fishing, and I think that if you totally stay away from that, it gives you more validity.
Absolutely.
With the people you're reading
Absolutely.
from. When you're doing your reading, do you use any types of tools like psychics do?
No, I don't use any tools. I just step into the energy, and the information starts flowing. It's the quickest and easiest way for me to work. I think it's great that other people use tools, but I find that also for me is distraction. I just like to get right in there, jump in, and start the reading, and let's work with those that have passed over. I just let people know that I actually work more with those that have passed over than the person sitting in front of me sometimes. Sometimes that somebody steps in and actually they're passing this quick and they didn't get to say their goodbyes, or maybe there be healing work between people. So I really feel like I'm more than a medium. I actually feel like I'm a healer in that respect.
And I have always felt that mediums are healers. I mean, I think that anyone doing this type of work, whether they're psychics or mediums or whatever, you are giving people healing, because there is a sense of not saying goodbye to someone. And I think that if you finally get to say that goodbye, or know that you can still communicate with them even though they're not physically here, it opens up this door of hope and healing that was at once a void. So I know you don't work with tools, but I did hear you mention a cabinet. What is a cabinet? What is that?
Okay. Well, a cabinet is actually it's a space that we use that it builds the energy. So a cabinet actually is just an area that we typically what they've done in the past is the mediums have gone into a closet with a curtain or into a corner of the room with a curtain. And what happens is sitting in that space, the spirit's able to actually build the energy in that space. So it actually heightens my abilities to do that.
Interesting. So you basically, what you're trying to tell me is that you sit in the same place all the time and you're building that energy constantly.
Yes, I actually sat for 3 years, first with a group, and we sat every week at the same time. And then I sat, after that group ended for a year, I sat with a person for 2 or 3 years, and we sat once or twice a week, always at the same time. And the reason we did that is because Spirit would actually be there at that time. So it's a commitment on our part, a commitment on Spirit's part, a collaboration that we're going to work to develop.
Interesting. And I know you said you didn't work with tools, but just for the sake of explaining, one of the tools I know some mediums work with is psychometry. What is psychometry and how does it work?
Well, psychometry actually, it's not really a physical tool. Actually, is when we touch something and we get the information off of that object. It actually can be used as a tool in a way that, say, I ask for somebody's ring, and the ring has their energy on it, and it helps me connect. So that I can get the information to start flowing. But all objects carry energy. So if you go into a building, an old building, you can, if you're sensitive enough, you can pick up things that may have happened in the past. It's all embedded in the walls, the ceilings, and the objects in that building. Or it could be an actual space outside. Some spaces are very sacred, and you can step into that space and feel that shift or that change. Most people are sensitive to some degree and have felt that.
Right. That's interesting. And this, the communication that you do with people, is it just narrowed it down to people, or do you sense pets, in other words, like cats, dogs?
Actually, I didn't know that I could, but it did come up in a reading. I had a lady come to me that wanted to connect with an animal. She didn't tell me what, and I told her, don't tell me. She said she had a picture, and I said, well, you can bring it, but I don't want to see it. Again, I don't want any visual clues. So she did bring the picture and had it in her purse, and the first thing that came through was my dog that passed over, and with my dog came another dog. I saw the dog clairvoyantly. They showed me, so I told her what the dog looked like. And of course she started crying. It was her baby and everything. It was just a wonderful feeling. And the dog, actually, I was able to energetically communicate with the dog. So it was giving me information for her to let her know that he was still there for her. And inadvertently, towards the end of the reading, I did get the dog's name. So that was just an amazing experience for both the person that was sitting with me and for myself.
Yeah. And being that this is for me, I don't even know how to say, it's kind of strange because, animals don't have they don't speak to us here in this physical world. So how do they communicate? I guess it's thought process. Are their thoughts the same as humans?
Well, I'm not even sure about all of that and how it works. It's still a mystery to me, but I would say that it is a thought process. To their limited intelligence, of course, to us, but they still are God's creatures. So I would say that they could communicate. If they were to communicate, it would be probably not as quite complex as what we think it as, but the energy of love comes through,
right?
And that energy of love is, I guess, coming through in words and visualizations.
Yeah. And I know that you've had some really interesting stories for me. Do you have any that come to mind that you'd like to share with the listeners?
Oh my goodness, there's so many, and I don't even know where to even to begin. Well, I think that any stories that I would tell the listeners, they probably wouldn't believe me. I mean, they had been so fantastic. And I would say, okay, I'll tell one. I
Okay.
was in a very old building. It's called Landon House. It's in Maryland, Western Maryland. And it was built in the 1700s. It was actually a mill at one time. It was transported from Virginia to Maryland. And it was used as a military hospital. It had Civil War soldiers that had actually died in there. And it was an academy for young women and young men. So I wanted to use the place as the guy that owns it rents out rooms, and I was looking to rent out space there to do this kind of work. And I went there to check it out with my husband, and we went up to the third floor, and he does weddings there. The third floor, this one particular room, is where the bride gets dressed. Well, we walked into it, and I hit a wall of energy that, I mean, it just actually threw me off a little bit. I wasn't expecting it. But I got visually a woman, and she told me, she's trying very hard to communicate with me. She told me that she had lost a son, and we stepped out of the room, actually, because I was getting so dizzy. And we went all the way down to the other end of the building, and I decided to go back by myself to see if I could get more information, and I did get a name.
Oh.
Her name was Abigail. And I asked the gentleman when he came back to the room, I said, I'm getting a woman here, her name is Abigail. And he said, that's very interesting, because I had another medium come in, and that person also said the name Abigail. So that was confirmation for me that I was getting the information correct. About a year later, that I was down getting a private reading by somebody in Roanoke, a wonderful medium, and Abigail came through. The first thing he said is, I have a woman here, and her name is Abigail. So Abigail decided to follow me.
Interesting.
And he said, I've never had this happen before. He said, I have to tell you that I believe that you were this woman's son.
You?
That I was the woman's son. Now,
wow.
It's very interesting, because I did not give him any information on any of this. So this was right out of the blue. I was very surprised, and I guess a part of me wasn't, because actually I felt very connected when I went to the building. So Abigail is more than welcome to work with me. She said she wanted to work with me, and I can use all the help I can get.
Can't we all? Well, Marilyn, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your time. Would you come back in the future, and maybe when we do a live show, would you mind doing readings on the air?
Oh, I've never done that, but I sure give it a try. I'd be happy to, Tony. Thanks.
Thank you so much. You can learn more about Marilyn at www.twoheartsjourney.net. That's twoheartsjourney.net. And you can reach us also at www.healingfromwithin.net. And if you want to get a hold of Marilyn, you can just contact me, and I'll be more than glad to forward the information. Email me, tony@tonyvalen.com. And thank you so much. We air Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Central, or you can catch us on demand by going to the show website. You can follow the show at healingfromwithin.net, or contact me directly at the email that I gave you, tony@tonyvalen.com. And please, please, please follow the show on Twitter at TVHFW. Thank you, and you all have a great week until next week. Bye-bye.